I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. First up, we have agenda revisions. Are there any agenda revisions? Nope. All right. Next up, we have the consent agenda. Are there any questions on the consent agenda today? Nope. All right. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. All right. We have celebrating school achievements with Aaron.
Yes, all right, thank you so much. So I had a little handout for you. It gives a little bit of context to why we're celebrating. So the state of Washington has a program to recognize schools who have met their criteria for improvement. And so what you have in front of you is how our schools recognize closing gaps, growth, and achievement. And so this year we have Columbia River Gorge,
That's awesome.
Gauze, and Hathaway. So
That's
I say
awesome.
this year, this is for the 23-24 school year. So 24-25, we haven't completed yet. Next year, this time, we'll hopefully be celebrating our schools that we recognize for next year. But
Yep.
this year, we have Columbia River Gorge, closing gaps, targeted Gauze, closing gaps, targeted and growth for students in one or more racial and ethnic groups, and growth for students in special education, and Hathaway Elementary, growth for students in special education.
It's awesome.
So, yeah, so we're really thrilled. And then the document you have has that we had in 2023, we had 3 schools, and then in 21-22, we had 1 school. So yeah, we're thrilled with the results. And Wendy is here to accept the banner. It's over there.
Dun,
We
dun,
have a little ceremony we're gonna do and get a photo. So thank you for being here.
Yeah.
Thanks for the work, your leadership, and this is a team effort.
Oh, yeah.
Right, absolutely. So we love the recognition by the state, and they shared a banner that will go up. I'm
Very
not
cool.
exactly sure where the banner's going.
We have not decided yet. I think the staff will talk about it and decide where we can fit. Best.
Yeah, great. So I invited the principals to be here. They're receiving the banner on behalf of their school. But thank you. Casey, you want to add anything to this recognition?
So I want to provide a little bit of context. When we were doing the school improvement plans, you guys clearly saw the graphs that have the orange and the blue.
Yeah.
Okay. This means, number one, when Aaron speaks about growth at some schools, we are given a score on whether we grow
across those indicators. And then the targeted groups are some of those subgroups that we've focused on, we've done some additional work with, we've targeted with our interventions, those kinds of things. So that's what that kind of means as far as what it means to be targeted and what it means to have overall some additional growth. So Aaron, tell me if I'm wrong, is there 16 schools in the state that were recognized, and
Wow.
we have 3 of them.
Nice. That was
So,
very
yeah.
cool. When we've had them in the past too.
So actually, yeah, it's great. So actually, it's 16%.
Oh, sorry.
16% of schools. So it's a few more
Okay.
than 6, but 16%. Yeah.
No, I didn't say 6, but I said 16. but
Yeah,
that-
16,
Yes,
yeah.
okay. Sorry.
I thought you said 6 schools. That was my bad.
Oh, no. I said 16 schools in the state.
Speaking of thought.
Anyway.
Regardless,
And to Tracy's point of the improvement framework and all of the data points, and then when we meet again in August and in September, the principals will look at all of their data and it's more like this year.
Yeah.
It's a little like Tracy was talking, like targeted, like we are focusing on specific data points.
That's very cool.
So could we, thank you for being here. We'll get a picture.
Yeah.
And Tracy and Connor, can you help?
We're we doing that now?
Yeah, let's do that now.
That way they don't have to be stuck here through the whole meeting. if They don't want to be.
Yeah, can I leave
Maybe,
that?
would you be in the picture as well?
Yeah.
Can we get a picture over there by the banners?
Gosh, I wish I would have known to see my picture.
Are they all the same?
Yes. You and Johnny.
Not just me.
Are you and Johnny?
I'm good.
No, this one right here. This one work?
Yeah.
You wanna hold?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. How's that look? Oh, that's good.
Oh, it's
Yeah, Connor, you're in these.
Or Connor, you're short.
There you go, you're good.
It's not there. Three, two, one, and three, two, one, three, two, one.
Thanks.
Take it away.
So CRGD and GAUS will get their banners later this week. Okay, thanks again for
Thank
being
you.
here.
Thank you. All right, next we have our budget update.
Yes.
Over to Karen and she.
Good work. So Shalice is gonna, I asked her if we could go over it a little more detail. In the last couple months, we've just kind of gone through it quickly.
Okay,
So to see if you have any questions about the information. So this is, this one is recognized through April.
Yep.
Now, clearly, we're almost through May, but through April, we'll highlight information.
And then, there's a mirroring thing that's turned on, that's trying to, you need, oh, so,
There a way for me to see the notes?
maybe, so. People that, so can you stop sharing first? And then I go back here, you have to stop the presentation. And then, slideshow. There should be one that says presenter view. And then,
Your mic's on.
yeah, there you go. So when you do the screen sharing, you should see both
Yeah, but then we
views now.
Yeah.
Choose this.
Is that right?
I'm not gonna argue with her.
Okay.
Right. We ready?
I think so.
Good.
Okay, so, sorry, I'm like moving two screens. I'm not very good at this. Enrollment, I have April enrollment, and then I noted May, so we're up 1.18 FTE.
Okay, before you move on,
Okay.
just,
Should we celebrate that for a minute?
here's so. It is, in the last 6 years,
I did
it's
something.
been pretty consistent that we see a little bit of a bump in October. and
Yeah.
Just it's declines
Yeah.
through the end of the year. And so we are not seeing that this year. So we're excited about
Yeah.
holding our enrollment.
I can't share it and see my
Okay.
notes at the same time.
All right, so we're gonna adjust. So
Maybe someone else could share and she'll just say next and they can click through the slides.
For you.
Can I do that?
what we're gonna see is how well we get along as a team.
I'll just do that. Okay, so in a minute.
You're fine.
Each we put in our notes. Numbers. Are you just gonna share it, Lex? Yeah, great.
The test did this out.
That's okay.
Oh, you're fine.
Did you turn your mic on?
I don't know. It's on.
I think it's the battery
This is why I don't like it,
Is it
'cause
right?
you hear like every tap. Just
I can probably share it. Can I share mine?
I'm just waiting for it to show.
Plus like location.
Silence.
Yeah. I wish the baseball kids would start speaking like that, you know. We'd have that.
How many days of school left?
I'm not sure. I was counting.
I love that. They're like, we know. My kids would know for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Today's done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tomorrow. I just know it's on the whiteboard in our break room.
Yeah,
Nice.
That's how I know.
I love that.
Did you?
But, yeah.
Sitting in what?
no, it says it sent. Yes, I did.
Wow, Mr. Connor.
His attention.
That would be something I would do. I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to send it? Right.
I know it was when I said yes, and then I'm going to
Yeah.
send, like, please show it.
Yeah, you're like. Please don't. Please do.
Okay. So if we want to just go to slide 5. So one more. Yep, so this is our current general fund projection as of April. So April and October are our main levy collection months, so that's why you see the huge spike in April. That's totally normal. We tend to get more money in April than in October just because of the way the percentages work out. This will go back down because May and June are our low apportionment months. We tend to get around 9% in state apportionment, which is our main funding source every month. And in May and June, we only get 5 and 6%.
Okay.
So it's a lot lower than what we're used to. So you'll see it go back down
And that's the same every year,
every year.
every year.
Last-
least
last
you
very
can-
similar.
At least we can plan for that,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah, so the next slide. So then this just shows our comparison from 23-24 to 24-25, updated through April. So you can see that our fund balance is doing a lot better than it was last year. And you can also see how the trend line is pretty much the same from year to year. It's just higher this time, but the same type of trend of when we get our money and when we spend it.
And so questions have come up when we look at, why are, if our fund balance, if we're doing well or better than last year, why are we still reducing?
Mhm.
And it's because the 25-26 enrollment is less, right?
Right.
So we are adjusting to enrollment
Yeah.
projections.
Mhm. Okay, next slide.
I love
And
those
then-
graphs, by the way. Those are really helpful.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
And then you see these every month. These are our other funds. So in total, there are 5 funds. We focus on the general fund, but there are 4 other smaller ones. So this one is the ASB, our debt service, which you can see in our debt service, our bond refund went through. So there's revenue and then corresponding transfer out of our refund. So that's good because that's fully done and over with. And then our transportation vehicle fund is there. We paid for a bus and we just got our last bus that we were planning to receive this year in, and that should probably hit next month. Yeah. And capital projects, we're slowly going. And as the projects get going, you'll see more expenditures coming through. And then budget planning. So right now, our budget planning calendar is to have the preliminary budget presentation in June. So that would be June 10th. OSPI sent out an email a couple hours ago that they don't think they're going to have the system up until June 6th. And so we're gonna see how that works out. So I'm just letting you know that we might still have it on the 10th, but if the system really doesn't come out till the 6th, ESD has to look at our budget and approve before we can preliminary present it.
Okay.
If there's any issues with it. So just send that email.
Any thoughts about if we don't have it?
Yeah, so we'll probably, normally the preliminary budget, then you guys don't approve the budget until August.
Yeah.
And so we could either do a special meeting within July and present it later with the approval still happening in August as normal. The 4-day turnaround to get it in the system and get the ESD to look at it and approve it most likely is not happening. Their email said they're hoping to get it in by next week, but at the latest, the 6th. So if they get it in earlier, then the 10th might end up being fine. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so then the next slide is the legislative priorities. And the next one is the update, which is the one I have information on. Okay, so the legislative session ended April 27th. The governor has signed the budget. So these are the highlights of what came out of the budget that affect the district. So the one really positive is that there is no apportionment shift. So I know we talked last month about them looking at shifting our apportionment revenue, which is not great. They took that totally out. So apportionment will stay the same. We won't have to worry about some really low months. The next one is House Bill 2049. So this increased our levy cap. It increased it for 2026 by 500 per student. Plus they changed the annual increase to be the consumer price index, which is the CPI, which is actually a higher percentage than the IPD, which is what they currently use. So we're going to get an extra 500 per student as a cap plus a higher increase. And they're also including an additional 3.33% cap increase through years 2027 through 2030, in addition to the CPI. So that increases, currently the district is capped per student, and we're capped at 3,247 per student. And this will increase the cap that I wrote down to 3,851 per student, which means that what the voters approve, once we hit our cap, we get rolled back. So we don't actually collect what the voters approve. So this is going to increase what we can collect, but we're still going to be rolled back. It's not enough to actually get up to what our levy is approved for.
Okay.
But it will reduce our rollback, which is very positive for us.
Yeah.
Any questions about that?
And then just one thing to know, our levy collection is also based on our assessed valuations, and those will come out around October and November. So at that point, we'll know truly what we'll be able to collect, because we'll be able to see our assessed valuations compared to our max. So then I'm going to skip the special ed because Connor will go over that. The next one is the Senate Bill 5169 for MSOCs. So just like last year when we got a slight increase, this is an increase of $35.27 per FTE K through 12, and then an additional $4.69 for 9 through 12, which is their enhancement. So the total estimated for our district would be $90,998. So as we know, because we approved it during the budget last year, we have to show the state that we're using all of our MSOC money,
Right.
which we are.
Yep.
And we'll just have to show again that this 90,000 just went to our MSOC money.
Okay.
And then the last one, Senate Bill 5769 is transitional kindergarten. So we know that they are fully funding this year, and then they're capping next year at our current enrollment, and they released their spreadsheet and we're capped at 79 FTE. Yeah, And then Senate Bill 5263.
Senate Bill 5263 does a couple helpful things in the area of special education. It eliminates the current enrollment cap that's 16%. So that will fund us up to our current percentage that's around 18%. So we'll kind of realize some of those unfunded students that are receiving services. And then the other piece is that it lowers the safety net threshold. So currently the safety net threshold is at about $41,000. The district is putting the bill up to $41,000 for any students that need that much support. And then the state starts reimbursing us after that threshold. So that threshold will be decreased for next year. And then they will start to distribute safety net awards quarterly instead of annually. And this is helpful for districts who have large bills related to students that they have to kind of pay up front and then don't realize the reimbursement until the summer.
August.
Yeah,
Oh, wow. Okay. And they're doing it quarterly now?
so they will be.
They will be doing
reimbursed
it.
on a quarterly basis moving
Okay.
forward, yeah.
Anything you want to add about TPK as far as projected?
No, we're in a really good spot. The cap that we currently have is 80 students basically. And we are currently enrolling students for TK for next year. We've offered 60 students spots and we are actively registering about 51 of them. So we're doing a good job registering the families that have been offered spots. And then our process for screening students and identifying if they would benefit from TK is still open. And so students are still, families are still expressing interest in being screened and being put on a wait list right now. And they have the potential to access a fourth classroom if we get enough students.
Wow, awesome. That's great. Thank you, Connor.
Are there any questions? That was my last slide.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. This was great. Thanks for the update. All right, we are on to the ELL program update.
Yes.
I'm going to front. Haley's gonna join me up front.
So Tracy oversees numerous programs and our ELL / multilingual program is one of those. And she has brought Haley, who's a big part of the team. And Sandy, you're here in support.
Yes.
But you're not gonna come up to the table. So.
Dan, you can come up to the table as well.
Everybody's got one.
Please,
And
thank you.
actually Dana Wilson just left because she had to go and see her son play a
Gotcha.
solo.
Oh, yeah, I heard that. Okay, great. So, yeah, so this is a remarkable team and we're thrilled. And thank you for being here and sharing the program. So Tracy is going to be setting up the presentation, which you have in front of you. Maybe while we're, there we go. Okay. That's what I was just gonna ask, if there's an introduction. So Tracy, take it away.
So this is Sandy Renner. She's she's our Spanish speaking liaison and also works with our multilingual learners. And this is Haley Alvarado. Haley is new to the position this year. So as some of you knew, we made a change where we changed the model this year. So Haley is a 0.6 certified staff member with an ELL endorsement, multilingual endorsement. And then what we were able to do with some of those funds is that we were able to add an additional paraprofessional to help support students. And that's when we brought Dana Wilson on as well. And Dana's been a great addition to the team. as Haley is as well. And then Fernanda Lay is also somebody that, paraprofessional that's been with us for a number of years. She supports students. They all support students. So even Haley in her role, of overseeing the whole program, she sees small groups of students as well. So today I'm just here, to just kind of bring you guys up to date. I did that I actually did it 2 years ago. Just kind of giving you information on how we identify students that are in need of some support for English language services. I think during our board visit, and I'm not sure, Sadie, were you at the JMS board visit? Yes. We were able to see a push-in model there, where we were in Mr. Rainey's class and students, multilingual students, that were actually, a couple of them were newcomers.
Yeah.
Were sitting right up front. It was translated materials and also translated video that was on. So we saw that in action. When students come to Washougal, part of the registration process is that they fill out a home language survey, and what they indicate on that home language survey is how we then screen them. So it's Haley's responsibility and her team to screen in that month of September. It's a very small window of time, so that we can provide support for students, ASAP. And then we get students all throughout the year. You'll see in one of the last slides how many students we kind of start the year with and then what we end up with. So, and please ask questions along the way of myself, Haley, Sandy. I know I didn't tell you guys that.
No, that's okay. That's totally fine.
Also, every February and into March, Haley and her team administer what's called the WSD test, and it's a English proficiency exam. And that's what I shared with you guys a couple of years ago, how they were going to then align students with the WSD scores and with how they tested with the SBAC. Because what was happening was there was a real discrepancy sometimes in students seeming like they maybe didn't need as much language support, yet they were not testing well. And we want to kind of bring that more into balance. Last year, they did some adjustments and we had a lot more students who were successful. And actually, I think there were 6 overall that actually were able to exit their services for ELL support, and then, continue on. That just means that their language level was high enough where they didn't need as high level of support. Now, when a student qualifies to not receive that support, they become like on a consult basis, because we want to make sure, looking at classroom teachers, how do classroom teachers feel about it? What do we witness with students in their development of English, whether it's speaking, listening, writing, reading, all of those components. And depending on the level of students, so for example, we saw, Sadie was there, we saw a push into the classroom. We would do that similarly in like a kindergarten classroom. I think starting in first grade, it's mostly a pull out kind of program. But we really try to individualize it to see what the student needs are.
And newcomers, since they come throughout the year, a lot of times we'll switch groups around so we could do push in with that student. And at the high school, I usually push in with the student if they want to at the high school. But yes,
Yeah.
we kind of move things around depending on who's coming throughout the year.
And really seeing what that, for the younger kids, what kind of level of support is the family looking for? What kind of support does it look like the gen ed teacher needs, so that we can help bridge some of that?
Yeah.
This just talks to you about your board policy 2110, about how you have agreed as a board and us as a school district we are committed to making sure that students that enter the district get the support they need. We have have funds, that's Title III, and that's TVIP. That was one of the things that was part of the program review, that we were just successful at. We brought you that information a couple weeks ago. That there's a lot of, boundaries and specifics about that grant money and what we can spend it on. And we utilize it as much as we can, in the way that it was intended. Also, through supporting multilingual learners is, this is now our 4th year with awarding students at the high school the Seal of Biliteracy. And what that means is that student is bilingual, you know, and they get a certificate, they get a medal. Betty orders the medal, make sure everybody gets theirs. Haley right now is finishing that testing for students. I don't have an updated number. The last time I reported to the board, it was actually after school ended and we had those numbers. So, you know, in a future meeting, we'll make sure that we let you know about students, and also we'll be at graduation, and those students were identified and got to stand up.
Yeah.
You remember last year, with who was awarded that special recognition.
So you're currently proctoring those exams?
Yeah, we're finishing up. We're starting to get some of the results in from the middle school though, because we finished at at Canyon and at Jim Chigard, and we're starting to get some of those scores. So I just saw one come in today, and one of our middle schoolers already got a 4, or one of our 8th graders at Jim Chigard. So that means he doesn't have to take it again. Has a seal of biliteracy now.
That is so cool.
So
Yeah.
we'll graduate with it. Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah,
That
it
was
is
really
really,
helpful.
and they can retake it every year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And so what that comes with is four high school credits.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's
Right. That's huge.
right, exactly.
It is,
It's a-
yeah.
It's a big deal.
So when will you be done with that?
I should be finishing this week.
Okay.
Yeah, and it says it takes 5 to 10 business days to get everything back, but it's been a little longer.
So it's, yeah, AP testing, smarter balance
Yeah.
testing, sealed by literacy testing.
Yes,
Testing going
Yeah.
on.
A lot of
and
stuff.
some of them are doing both at the same time. So
Yeah.
yeah, next year we're gonna do it in the fall instead of the spring, and so we can try to get more people in the fall and then not have a lot of testing
And
happening.
then just catch anyone
Yeah,
who missed.
anyone who missed, and if anyone enrolls later, they can just do it later. They have the whole year, but once they start the test, they have 90 days to complete
Thank you,
it.
as I was wondering,
Yeah.
so you were saying they can take it multiple times.
Just one time a year, though.
Right, for one time a year, and there's a maximum number of credits that can be earned.
Right, 4 is the max.
Yes.
That's so cool.
And then we also, obviously, you know, we offer dual language, so our commitment to that. We know we had a pause this year, so we currently don't have a kindergarten group of dual language, but we have 19 students that are registered right now for kindergarten for next year for dual language.
Yeah.
So next year we will have, so we increased to 3rd grade this year, so we had 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. Next year we'll have kindergarten, and then we'll have
Second, third.
3rd, and 4th. Thank you, Wendy Marmal,
And so we won't have a first grade.
because there's no kindergarten.
So there's no first, you're right, but there has been, so, you know, and we have discussed at different times. What if there's a large number of first graders? But we don't, like, I think we've asked to maybe collect names, anyone who reaches out to us.
Yeah.
And it just right now, I don't think it's
I got 19.
so if that is the number, then what we need to do is look at those individuals and see, you know, what the level of interest is.
For 1st grade.
Mhm.
Yeah.
19 already.
No, yeah, for 1st grade, yes. The kindergartens from this year that are going up to 1st grade, yes, I got 19.
Kindergarten.
Yeah, so we'll need to look at
Right.
and determine, like, get those names.
I've been going to home visits and having them do the survey thing, so. You know, I've been trying to get to them all to get them to do it.
And then the other support that's been offered this year, and I'm not sure if it's been offered in the past, it might have been, but maybe not as
Last
consistent.
year too.
For the tutoring.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I know that Haley and her team opened up the building on a Saturday. Actually, it was the Saturday before Mother's Day. Just because in preparation of students maybe being a little anxious about the test and not being in class and getting homework done, they had 15 students
Wow.
come on
Yeah.
Saturday. So Kids want,
Oh,
Oh.
17, okay, so 17, yeah, I
That's
was
a
gonna
lot.
say, some came at different times.
And
But
that
it
was a
was
big
awesome.
bonus because it was Mexican Mother's Day and most of those kids were Latinos. And
Yes.
it's really hard for them to be away from their moms and Mexican Mother's Day, but they did it. They came, they were there the whole
And they
day.
got a lot done.
A lot.
Very cool.
all right. We as a district provide other kinds of services and, our multilingual, nights throughout the year. Supporting students, sports physicals and, whatever families really, indicate a need for, we've tried to be responsive to making sure that, we can provide some assistance in those areas. We also have in the last 2 years, taken some of that grant money, and, paid for, PSYOP instruction, training. We sent actually more than 12 people in these last 2 years have gone to this 3-day intensive training at ESD. And we're thankful for that. Some of those individuals were classroom teachers that were interested in the training. All of our lab staff has participated. So thinking about how we can help support students in reading. We also had some lab additional funds. They're called high poverty funds that we got this year. It was a 1-year set of pocket of money, and Wendy was able to hire an additional para at Hathaway. The funding had to stay at Hathaway, but we were able to get a bilingual para partially in that lab room and that dual language room, and we're hopeful that we can do something like that in the future as well.
Yeah.
We have been notified that we will not be able to get the high poverty funds though for next year. We did not qualify for that, so. And then the other things that we support, Imagine Learning, Universal Design for Learning, all those kinds of things that are part of what we do for all learners. I showed all of you, a couple of years ago, we started the year this year with 106 students in our multilingual program, and we're ending right now with 133. And we have 14 different languages that are represented. So, we've got students from all over the world.
Crazy, wow.
So. Very cool.
It is.
All right. Any questions?
I don't have any question. Thank you, guys. This is great.
I think it's amazing. I'm just curious, like what challenges you've seen over the last year or 2 years or that you project moving forward?
I think one of the biggest challenges is having newcomers come to Washougal because we don't have a newcomer program like some of the other bigger districts
Yeah.
might have. And they just have more staffing, more people available for newcomers. They kind of do like the newcomer would start in a classroom and then slowly branch out into their main core classes. Here we're more like pushing in and supporting them in their main classes. So I just see that continuing to be a challenge. And I think it just depends where students are coming from, what grade they're coming into, what education they're coming with. And so that's just been a major challenge. And I think everyone has that challenge.
And it's interesting that you bring that up also. Haley and her team have made quite a connection with ESD 112. And actually
yeah.
Haley was invited to present at what's called the World Cafe this year. And it was a great honor. We did some advertising and some publicity around it, but also it kind of people at ESD, because we've sent so many people to PSYOP training, really has put a mark that Haley can call the person that's in charge at ESD 112, and pretty much Effie is at her
I
beck
love
and
that.
call. So
Good relationship.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, and
they have great people that have also presented there. Like when I presented also, I got to sit in on a newcomer session for 2 staff that were newcomers themselves when they were in elementary and middle school. And so it just kind of, every time I go there, I'm learning something new and bringing it back. So it's awesome that I'm connected there too now.
Yeah,
yeah.
that's awesome.
And to be able to, to be able to hear from the student's perspective, what did they need, not
Yeah,
what we need.
yeah.
What did they indeed need, and what kinds of things worked, and what kinds of, it's the feedback that we want to hear.
Oh, yeah,
You know.
yeah.
I would like to say something. I mean, it's been amazing having Haley. It's
Thank
made
you.
a huge difference. And, oh, the kids talk about it all the time because they feel, like they're heard more and understood more. And I mean, they actually, you can stop in anytime in our room, you'll see our room trying to be full with kids all the time. They don't want to leave our classroom. And they're always asking, can we stay after school? Can you help us? Can you do this? Can you do, I've been staying, of course, almost every day after school and helping. I get teachers that will help and some students that have been amazing
Yeah, they're super
tutors
engaged right now.
helping.
Yeah.
So they really, it's sad to me that they waited till the last minute to try to get their grades up, of course, but they're doing it.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing is, my biggest challenge is the teachers, working with some of the teachers that just don't want to budge. And we're trying to break them in, and they've been breaking in, so they've been, but working with us lately. But it has made a huge difference having the classroom we have compared to when I was working with Miss Savoy and with Miss Lay the years before, and because they only had a tiny little room and it was
Yeah, it's like
only
an
pull,
office, yeah.
they would only pull 2 kids at a time. Now we're helping anywhere from 2 to 3 to 14 kids at a time.
Yeah, depending on what we're doing.
Depending on what we're doing, so and then themselves say, we couldn't have done it. We couldn't have done it without being in this classroom. So it's made a huge
Yeah.
difference having Tracy's backup supporting it.
Yeah, thank you for your
So
support,
thank
Tracy.
you.
Yes.
All right, any other questions?
So I had a couple thoughts.
Yeah.
So yeah, and you just hit on it, so because Tracy and our offices are very close together, and I get to see who's visiting, I get to hear conversations. And so the level of support that you have provided with PSYOP training
Yeah.
and with the grants, and between you and Betty supporting the team, you think about, what do people do?
Yeah.
So Tracy's support and Betty working with the two of you in providing resources and information and training to them has been phenomenal.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
And to think about a year ago when we made a decision and we weren't sure, and we know we needed a certificate staff member who's had the correct licensing, and Haley did, and Haley was in a position that was eliminated.
Mhm.
And so to have this conversation with her, it was probably a little bit more than a year ago, but
Yeah.
or
Well,
Yeah, it was
About this time,
last
so-
summer, yeah.
to be here now, and when we make a decision like that, we don't know necessarily what the outcome's gonna be.
Right.
So part of it is, we had an idea, and you've been phenomenal.
Thank you.
And she's also this very upbeat, energetic, positive, qualified, sort of,
Yeah.
certified, which is really helpful for this role. And then just your energy and your interest, and just like you said, every time you go to EST 12, you learn something. And probably working with principals, you're getting a better understanding what they're looking for, working with families, working with Sandy. So she's very open to feedback and input. It's very helpful. She's also, just FYI, a Washougal graduate.
He was a
Right.
principal.
Just at least,
So you're not personally.
start to, I talk a lot about connections
Yeah.
and the impact of that. And so she has a lot of connections in this community.
And this year I've made a lot more. This is like breaking out of my 2nd grade classroom, and I've learned so much this year.
Yeah.
So much.
And you've done such a great job.
Thank you.
So thank you, and Sandy, and all the connections Sandy has, and
Yes.
and her,
100%.
your willingness to challenge students and I think families and connect with them and say, this is what we have, and challenge us with things that you notice, just as you shared, what are the challenges? Well, sometimes it's with working with the educators and trying to get them to find different ways that they can support our students whose primary language isn't English.
Right.
And so all the things that you presented I'm looking forward to the results. I
Me
love
too.
the seal by literacy and hearing the data, and because that's a huge impact for a student.
Yeah.
When they get these credits,
Yeah.
that they'll help towards different areas of their graduation requirements.
Absolutely.
Every year we have more and more first
Yes.
generation graduates and
Yeah.
that's
And
amazing.
see somebody in middle school already have that.
Yeah.
That is really impressive to me.
Yeah, I just saw one today, so I'm hoping for more.
Yeah,
So
that's really cool.
What you witnessed at Jump to Guard, that one
Yeah.
observation, all that went into that.
Right.
That
That took
one
extra
lesson.
time.
Right, there was a team effort
Yeah.
with the classroom teacher, Dana. And so we
Yeah.
that's, we just saw the results of the work that
Yeah,
that went into the planning that went into that. So that was
very
a great
impressive.
thing.
Yeah.
yeah, and you see how many people it takes for one
Right.
child.
Right.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, we've got our capital facilities plan, first reading.
Yeah, so here is a draft of the current plan. And so it's 2025 to 2031.
It's a lot of documents. Or papers.
It's fairly thick. And so I will share this electronically with you. So we took our current plan,
Yeah.
which does expire 2027, but we, for a variety of reasons, we wanted to update the plan for the next 6 years. And I think I've shared this at a different time. There's also a 20-year look or outlook, which didn't exist. So knowing that the county and the city are doing their 20-year plan, and that had been something that had come up in our meetings.
Mhm.
So we've added a part that wasn't in place. So I know there's a lot of reading. I can tell you that it has all the components that are required for capital facility plan. And for those of you who don't have this in front of you, this is something that we do every 6 years. And so identifies what capital projects we are thinking for the future.
Yep.
It doesn't mean that we're necessarily going to do those,
Right.
but it's a plan that identifies what the project is and what the revenue source is for the project.
Right.
So I've updated the projected enrollment. I've updated what the city has shared with us. Shalice, Les have been very helpful. Corey have been very helpful with updating the information. So this isn't a before and after, like you don't see the edits
Right.
from the previous. If that's something you're looking for, just let me know. I think if you look, for example, page 4, accordingly, the district's facilities planning is focused on 3 critical areas. So the first one is land acquisition. So we spent a good part of the fall discussing the property that we were interested in. So we are still looking for property. And the reason is because there's not a lot of property available. And when you purchase property for the future, right, that the price that we settle on now is going to be much different than the price in 20 years or 10 years or 15 years. So that's the first one. 2 is modernizing our infrastructure. So this is very important as we have aging buildings to continue to modernize those buildings. There's legislation or statute requiring us to be having our buildings be more efficient. So that's something that we're working on. And the third one is in enhanced safety and outdoor learning environments. So that's a big area. So
Yeah.
everything that's outside and what are our facilities or our outside facilities looking like? What are our playgrounds looking like? What are our softball, baseball, all of our athletic fields? And so whether it's upriver, where we know that we have some spaces up there, we have a fair amount of property.
Yeah.
But not a lot of it's usable, and that's usable. Like we have some, for several months, there's a lot of water. That we, so we can mitigate that. That would be helpful. And then at the high school, we didn't play a baseball game on our baseball field, and so we've got some work to do with that field. And so when you get into the actual projects, Some of the projects are identified are our outside spaces. Okay. I think since this is the first reading, and this is the first time you've looked at this, I think the idea would be if you could please. you know,
Yep.
Spend some time reviewing it. If we want to go to, I think just one more example, if you go to page 12. Table 7, capital facilities needs.
Okay,
That's where that table from our previous or our current plan,
yeah,
there's more items on this.
okay.
So the idea being looking into the future and what are our needs as far as our facilities. This we've done I think a pretty good job of identifying. And if you're looking at the table, I'm looking at security system upgrades is one of those items. So we currently don't have funding for those security system upgrades that we're thinking about, but we've written a grant and we haven't heard back from the grant
Right.
for part of that. And so we will seek out potential revenue sources for these projects. And then it can be grants, they could be a part of levy, they could be a part of maybe someone wants to donate funds for a project. That's happened. Like we have properties that we work with partners. So, okay, any questions?
Not yet.
Not yet? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Right, we are on to our proposals for action. Do we have any citizen comment tonight?
We do not.
All right, let's look at our board meeting calendar for 25-26.
Yeah, so we discussed this at our last meeting. I don't know if there were any updates or thoughts regarding the calendar. It's very similar.
Yeah.
We talked about the SIP plans are a similar format. They're early. We've identified those.
Yeah.
There's no additional questions.
Does anybody have anything else on that? Good. Right. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve?
All in favor?
Aye.
Right. Next up, we have resolution 2024-2508, which is our turf transfer.
Discussion about the turf transfer.
Not have anything on it.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
In favor?
Aye.
All right, how about resolution 2024-25-010, which is our WIAA enrollment. I did not have anything on that one.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
To resolution 2024-25-11, which is our declaration of surplus. I did not have anything on that one. Anybody else?
Motion to approve?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We looked all those over ahead of time, so yeah. It was really fast, guys, but I promise we looked all those over way ahead of time and pretty straightforward stuff. All right, next up, we have our boiler installation for the high school.
This is the one we saw the presentation on, or that they spoke about the last time.
Yeah,
Motion to approve?
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Yay, for the boiler.
Yes, that's great.
Another great thing. All right, next up, we have policy revision. This is our second reading and approval. We've got policy series 6000, which is our second reading and approval. Do we have any questions on that one, guys?
Nope.
Do I have a motion to approve it?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, on to comments for our board directors. Let's do it first. Jane, you go.
Okay. No, just kind of echoing what she was mentioning earlier, lots of testing in the school. So when I've been in the last couple weeks, it's definitely been, the students were studious and I think they're very, very glad that these testing weeks are over. But I know it takes a lot out of like the teachers and everyone else just to get all that testing done and make sure that the kids not only are prepared to take it, but also that they don't have the levels of anxiety. I know my third grader came home a little bit panicked for a while and his teacher did an amazing job of calming him down and letting him know that he knew the material and everything would be fine. So just really grateful that the whole school came together for that. We're in the home stretch.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Thank you.
I guess I'm just thinking about the summer, right? Like talking about things winding down. But there's also a lot of work that's going to continue in our schools. So again, thank you to our levy supporters for allowing us to do all of these upgrades and repairs. It's gonna be busy summer. So I'm kind of excited to see the work get done.
Absolutely.
Of course, I have to thank everybody for Stride. What a great turnout. It rained, but it was amazing. It was so fun. I love seeing our principals there. We've got Aaron with his cowbell. We've got just so many great participants and I love it. And it's fun every year. I will volunteer for that for forever. We got to visit Gauze. Aaron, Tracy and I got to visit Gauze. And again, great work being done in our schools. Very impressed with was it TK that the little guy?
Yes, it was TK.
They were so so smart, just like answering all these questions, talking to each other, the things that were going on in just a TK classroom. So impressed. And then our budget, super excited. Our fund balance.
Yeah.
That's amazing, guys. We've come a long ways this year. I'm very proud of us.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Great, thank you. All right, so we've got a couple slides. I don't have nearly as many as I had last night. So we just, I'm sorry. All right. So the site visit, and I don't have a slide with the site visit, but so TK, so Jane and Ida, TK, so 4-year-olds, singing about, I think they were singing the
Days
days of the week, and then there was a months of the year. The days of the week, I think, was a student came up and helped facilitate that song.
Yeah.
And then they did a turn and talk, and they answered the question, "What are you good at?" And I think the week before they or day before they had done, what's your favorite thing to do? This is what are you good at? So they discussed it, they asked each other, and then they shared out what did your partner say that they were good at, which was phenomenal. So turn and talk, working collaboratively, TK.
And remembering
Yes.
not only the name of
I
their
wanted
partner.
to capture that and say to our high school folks, look, this is a strategy that is utilized at TK. They do a turn and talk with norms, and the ask was say the entire sentence and use your partner's name. And for the most part, they were nailing it. It was very impressive. Loved it. And then the 5th grade teachers and then our amazing music teacher, Kendra, did such a good job preparing the students for the Memorial Day Remembrance Assembly.
Very cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
The band played.
Yeah, the band, they ukuleles, there were songs, there were speeches. It was wonderful. Okay, so here we go. So I want to start with Ida. You had asked a question, and I'll make sure this is the first one. You had asked a question about who is going to be doing the work that, an example, Tracy, who's retiring, who's going to be doing that work, right? And so we do have so I thought, and I didn't do a great job answering the question. We do have an organizational chart. And so that's on our website. So we're going to go look at that. But what we did was we really started there. What is everybody currently doing? And then what does Tracy do? And then we met with our building principals. Well, there were some questions that have happened here leading up to we set out the building principals and said, here are the things that, and it wasn't just that Tracy does, but we identified those along with other tasks, responsibilities with programs, various things that we do, and said who is interested. And so we had a chart, and so they get to fill their own name in. One of the rules was you couldn't put someone else's name down for something. So we went through this process, and then we've taken that and we're going to share that with PAW, which is our principal group. And so we want them by themselves to work through them. Not influenced by us being district office, executive team. So we're gonna have a conversation about that. But I thought it'd be good just to visit the org chart. So this is the current chart, and then there's a document they want us on a PDF. Because this comes up at different times, really earlier in the year. Julie will get these kind of questions. Well, here's the situation, who do I talk to? Who can help me with that? And so Julie has most of this memorized, I think, on who does what. And sometimes we need to ask her, like, who does what? And so she will tell us who's doing what. And so this is just how it's organized. And so for 25, 26, it'll be reorganized.
Right.
Gotcha.
And so not only does this include Tracy's role with teaching and learning, but also with Margaret's role as a CT director, who had also other duties as assigned. So we're currently working through this, and it's kind of challenging, like, what's the best way to represent? Sometimes it's organized vertically, sometimes it's horizontally. Typically it spreads out too far, and it's hard to represent it in a chart, or it's a tiny font, you can't read it. So this is on our website. This is information for really anybody who wants to know how we are organized. And so we're getting a little bit leaner. We're identifying the roles, and typically we're going to have it's a team effort, but ultimately there's going to be directors that oversee multiple programs,
Right.
and supervisors who work with those directors, and then principals who have some responsibility that maybe they didn't have this year, next year. But it's still going to be a team effort in how decisions are made and how the work gets done. So back to like really your question, Ida, is like we are working on it. We're including multiple individuals, and multiple. We're doing this a couple different times as we approach the next year. And in some cases, I think we for the most part we know all the responsibilities, but similar to like attendance, we started this year with attendance. We didn't have a person that was doing attendance. We had to make some adjustments in August, September, and then October. And we were in that person. It takes time to learn the position. So as much as we want building administrators to do the work that they really are maybe passionate about, that they have experience with, that's why we want them to have choice in it and say, but eventually we will have a organizational chart similar to that one. Okay. Okay, what did I just do here? This is the wrong one. Sorry. We have some tough presentation.
Man,
Situation.
Les, I think you need to give lessons.
He's like, yeah.
No. I'm getting an error. Hold on, I'm getting an error here. I know, this isn't, no, Les, I'm good. No, just, there we go. Let's see if that works. It was an interesting error message I've never seen before. So.
Not a good
Super.
Blame it on us.
Blame it on the system.
There we go. Oh. Ida, you had another question.
Oh, boy.
You are popular.
And so Shalise and
Great
I
question.
discussed this. So this was the question about policy 6020, which was one of the policies that you just approved, the revision, and it talked about, the county treasurer maintaining ASB funds. And so Shalise responded, I don't know if that was that night I emailed you or it was soon the next day, but as you can see, yes, that is true. It's actually all of our funds. And you want to provide a little context.
Yeah, so how school districts operate is we have a local bank account. Our deposits go in it every day. They're supposed to have within 24 hours. And then every week we're supposed to transmit So ACH those funds from our local bank account to the county treasurer, and then the county treasurer holds all the money. So every time we draw a check, it's actually sent through the county treasurer's bank and not through our local bank. So pretty much every week we clear out our local bank and give it all to the treasurer.
Why?
It's the WAC, all the school districts, the county treasurer keeps all the funding.
Do they earn the interest on those monies too?
We do not. We earn
Yes,
interest.
we
They
Okay.
earn the interest.
They
Yeah.
invest our funds for us and keep track of it. I think it's the same for, cities and.
Interesting.
But
Good question, Ida.
It was a good question.
I knew it was a city thing, but I didn't know it was school.
And then Chuck talked about workers' comp, and he had two scenarios where a volunteer gets on a ladder and falls, and then a referee who he had experience in a district where a referee was injured, I think actually killed during an incident.
Wow, okay.
So I reached out to our property casualty claim administrator with ESD 112, who shared that we are part of this consortium. And so we, the ask or the wonder is something that's not really available to us, which is additional support.
Yeah, okay.
But we are covered within the program that we're in
Yeah.
with ESD 112. And so, there's certainly things that we can do to mitigate risk. And we try to do that with as much as possible with volunteers.
Mhm.
Like the example of officials, they're also a part of an organization,
Yeah,
right? And so,
which is, they were covered by
yes,
that,
yeah.
not us.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so I'll make sure that he sees that response. Couple of things we want to talk about. So our equestrian team completed their state recently, and now they have regionals. So this is Oregon and Washington and possibly Idaho are going to be in Redmond, Oregon. So this is the next level for them. So this is it's just a co-op between us and Stevenson.
Yeah.
So a number of these are our athletes and student athletes. And the thing is with the equestrian team is it's not one of our sports teams, but it's in essence a club team. And so these are our students and Stevenson students, and they had a great season, and I think this was one of the best state competitions they've had. So very successful. I think everyone qualified for the region, so that's just great.
That's so
Very cool.
And it just, these events, they have trailers, so they're together, clearly have their horses. And it's just, my understanding is it's a really like, you have parents, families, grandparents. We had a grandparent who came in the next day and wanted to make sure that I was aware how successful they were.
Oh, I
So
love
it was a great update. And so they push this information out on Facebook and high school.
Yeah.
Publish it. So yeah, we're excited for their next competition.
Awesome.
Recently, we recognized Dana and Melanie, and so Melanie is one of our volunteers. So we identified her as like a volunteer of the year through ECA. So she does a lot of things through ECA, and one of those things is a mentoring program that's at the high school. And if you were to stop by the high school and go to the library, really about any time during the day, you're going to see Melanie and her team working individually with students. And so Barb Seaman, Mary Andriotti have had a lot to do with that, but it's a great program for our students. And so Melanie, just appreciate her interest in volunteering and supporting our students. Dana Wilson, who does a lot of different things for the district at different times, but she is phenomenal. And so just really appreciate all that she does and the way she does it.
We got to see
She's
her in
so
that classroom.
focused. Yeah, she is so focused on supporting our students and working collaboratively. She is really all in with Washougal, the community and the school district. So we really
They were
appreciate
there
it.
that Saturday too.
What's that?
They were there that Saturday.
Right. They volunteered, yes, and had, mentoring students. So that picture on the left was the event that I think Wendy was there, Haley was there, David Cook was there. And so it was a fun event in recognizing our two. Yeah. So you just mentioned, Sadie, so the stride, so the bottom two pictures, so Sadie, that's you on the right, working the booth there. Great job. It was, I don't know what time you got there, probably 5:30.
It was real early.
It's a great event, and it's a great event because of what it does.
Yeah.
Not only does it raise funds for our students and our staff to apply for grants, but it's also it's about fitness and right, and just making healthy choices. And it's a big community event. So there's a lot of partners that are there, and so I really appreciate this event. There's a lot of work that goes in, so thank you all the volunteers that dedicate so much time. The picture on the left, that is me. I don't have my bell. The bell was up at the start line, and that's my daughter.
Oh, did she run?
Excuse me, Emmy, who ran it. Yeah, so she was excited about running, and so this year she actually completed the registration early enough to get a T-shirt.
Nice.
So yeah, yes, of course, yeah. Usually it's after. Yeah, but it was so really proud of her, and she then kind of hung around and helped a little bit. And then the right is we have our doctors. We had our food truck was there, shoot shack was there, burritos and scones. I love the finish line. I'm hoping that there'll be a start line that looks kind of like that.
Yeah,
be cool.
we talked about that.
Good,
Yeah.
so that'd be
Okay,
great to have
yeah.
something like
The
that.
finish line is the best place to.
Oh, yeah.
It is, yes.
I love that.
Well, I love that some of the principals hand out the medals, because I know like my
You do.
kiddos, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, they get all excited that they got their medal
Yeah.
from their principal.
love that, right? They will not forget this time. Yeah, and then our band was there. So our band was there, sounded great.
Yeah.
And so Jen, Dr. Hodab, and David Duarte had the play on Friday night, which goes Friday 10:30, 11. Then they were there for band, for the stride. And then they had a matinee, and then they had another night, evening, with the last Wizard of Oz show.
Yeah, they were diehard.
So when people challenge like the work of educators and the commitment, I mean, that is just amazing. I just was so impressed that Dr. Hodab, knowing they had a late night and then showing up. And the same day we had music teachers took students to the Vancouver Symphony. There was a field trip for students who wanted to go. There were, so they wanted to go. We had 3 band music teachers, elementary teachers that took a group of students, about a 3-hour experience with the symphony.
Very cool.
Yeah, amazing stuff. So really appreciate it. So Mark Castle and I recently were invited to attend a presentation by McKinsey and Page. So next year's president and vice president of ASB. So that's McKinsey on the left and Page on the right. So there was this presentation, and it was really about their culture, climate culture, and the work that they're intentionally doing from a student's perspective, what they can do. They were recently recognized the 2020-25 Platinum School of Distinction through Renaissance, which is a part of Jostens. So this is ongoing partnership with Jostens, and just they continue to be receive the recognition because they're building it. They identify a need, they put a plan together, they have action steps, they fulfill those action steps, and they see results. So they did a really good job presenting to Mark and I. And then the last 2 slides were about their ask. And so it was interesting. McKinsey kind of said, we're here. We're just looking for a yes. And I was like, okay, so next slide. And I guessed what it was. And so this is, they are interested in having senior parking. With Panther Paw, which has been a tradition since the early days, probably before we had paved, it was a gravel, and they probably, before that, it was a dirt parking lot, and another way, they still had a Panther Paw. So just really appreciated their energy and their optimism and the way that they are going about this. And so it was a phenomenal presentation.
Both former Hathaway students.
There we go.
Are we doing senior parking? I mean, did you say
Now,
yes?
you know what? So Mr.
I'm like,
Castle,
see the next
Mr.
slide.
Council was leaning into it. I was not gonna make that decision.
Yeah.
So,
big one.
but as a former principal there, that was definitely something we would discuss off and on. So I think he's leaning into the idea. So,
It's
Very cool.
an
Yeah.
honor.
okay, that is all I have.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any future agenda items? Nothing to think of? Okay. Our board evaluation is available online. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we are adjourning at 7:45.
Thank you.